I know that there's not really anything else to say. I know that, like, I could keep talking about. I could keep talking about magic and what it represents and like why everything that's occurred can make sense logically. If right, if you believe that Quentin is completely addicted to the notion of controlling people as a psychic, right? That's the point. So if you can predicate that his whole empire, all of it, like all those actors who worship him, right, it's all predicated under this notion of submitting to him as a psychic and allowing him to possess their minds in unhealthy ways, then if the women around him are the ones that found my material, does it not stand to reason that they might see the only opportunity they have to get away from Quentin, and in fact, right, are legitimately like looking for a real way to, right, either justify still being there or like justify coming to me, right? Because they see that I can offer them an alternative, right, where they're safe from Quentin's, right, deep psychic sadism, right? This is deep evil. This is high evil. I know he doesn't want to be a miserable bastard, right? I know that I didn't realize that I was awakening that, right? I thought that he was like, right, he turned his back on me. That's like what occurred. Like, that's what occurred at that event. I looked him right in the eye. I shoved my letter all the way up to his face, and he turned around and refused to look at me. And it was petty. Like, it's not his fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. Magic 101. Be cool or you're out. That's it, right? But if magic has become so uncool for everyone around them, that all of the women, all the beautiful things around him that liked my material, that wanted to speak to me, said, well, why can't I speak to him? Right? Why is it that I can't go see him? Right? Because like he doesn't want to play those games, and we don't really like those games either. And that's like what we liked about him and why we wanted him here, because we knew that, right, he could stand up for us. Is that completely impossible? I'm pretty sure that like makes a lot of sense actually. If that script is sadistic, right? If that script puts them in bondage and scars Mikey Madison up, right? The point is that like all of those scenes where it's like, oh wow, gosh, those must have been hard. Like all that happened was they got tied up. Brad Pitt jerked off till he was hard. They turned the camera on and then he started fucking. That's like, there it is, magic of the movies, right? That they begrudgingly offered disgusting half-measured performances while they were getting tied up, right? Then they stopped rolling. Brad jerked off till he was hard. They started rolling again, and then he started fucking him. And that's like, right? And if it's just video, right? Quentin was yelling at her, right? If there is audio, right? If there's dialogue, he's in her mind, violating her as a psychic, right? You get it? Because he can't conceive. He's genetically deficient, right? So he can only conceive as a psychic in his mind, right? So he deprives all the women of their sensory input. They can't move. They can't speak. They can't see. He forces them into their mind, right? And then he violates their psyches with the sadistic evil. Yes, that's the point. That's the point. And so, like, he made it seem sexy for a while, and now it hasn't been sexy for a while. They just feel like they're bitches who get tied up and fucked to make Quentin Tarantino happy. And so they justified all of it in relation to me. That's the point. Like, yes, that is what I'm saying. Then when they saw my material and said, he's like genuinely so wonderful. I know that I could like talk to him and we could be close. Like, yeah, like that's like what I'm saying. That it was like this really sweet, like endearing thing, you know? And Quentin is so convoluted in his mind. He has to exact a sadistic torture over that. Like, that's like what I'm saying, you know? And this is deep heresy against magic. You know, there's no magic in that. He stole all the magic. It could never succeed. As soon as like he turned like that feeling into what it became. You know, that's my point, right? And so that's why the women were like, no, I gotta trust my instincts, right? That's like, no, right? We want to see Brian, and he's been weird about it ever since, right? Banking on the fact that I would never figure it out, or I would kill myself, or all of these things. Like, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know. Am I so arrogant that I think that I can like humiliate Quentin Tarantino in this public fashion and then outlive him? I don't know. I wasn't thinking along those lines. Like, honestly, I was thinking like in the immediate fight or flight. And I'm always alone in my life. Like, I have real psychological secrets that I don't want people to know. And so I spend all of my time alone. And so when Quentin turned his back, I said, oh, this is when I leave now. Because I have a great secret. And that's my fault. It's not his fault. He doesn't have to hold my hand all the way to Providence. Like, I do see that. I have no right to expect forgiveness, right? Or a career like through, right, his Hollywood channels, which is to say every Hollywood channel. You all condone him. None of you understand what you're condoning. You don't really see the scope of what it represents, right, for the psychiatric, condition within him, right? That he's deeply flawed. He's deeply fractured, right? That this is not, right? This is a dangerous game. It's not interesting. It's not cool, right? And so, as a father, right, as a psychic father to these two, I do see that this is a lot of kind of that sort of deal, right? And that's why he said it was a daughter and all these things, And I see that, I do see that. But I can't kill myself. I can't do it. I can't do that. I can't justify that in my mind, right? I have a statement to make to the world. I have things that I would like to build that I think might cure disease, all these things, And so I could have taken the satanic way and taken Quentin Tarantino's slime, and then I would have got Mikey Madison and Sydney Sweeney, and that would have been so fucking rad, right? But now he would rather be so devoted to control that he thinks it's better to not listen to their heart at all. And only think that what matters is controlling everything as a psychic and direct his buddy Brad Pitt to forcibly rape them both instead. That's what actually occurred, right? And so this is why I'm no, we have to, right? It's done now. He did it. You did it. Right now, you're going limp as a psychic, right? And so I'm, right? I have to take them under my care now, I'm sorry I couldn't make the movie with you. If you can't forgive me. If you can't forgive me, I'm sorry I couldn't give you what you wanted, I don't really know what else to say. I could cry about it at any time, but at some point, right? Don't you have to just reckon with, right, your shortcomings, right? With the fact that, right, playing the psychic mind game is not healthy psychologically, spiritually. Right, that's the real point, right? That's the point that I'm making, right? I'm not interested in, right? That's really what I was saying in that way. That I'm not interested in having a lifelong relationship with someone that's rooted in you manipulating me so overtly. Right? I feel that's a level of control that I have a say in, right? And so for the role, right, for all of it, right, of course for love, I would have done it, I would have never thought twice about it, But I stand by it, It's the more that I think about it, it's it has to be reducible to a simple thing. And does it not make all the sense in the world, That those women would see something pure in me and saw their passion when they did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And seeing Quentin for the goblin that he is, they said, oh, he's great. He's so cool. He'll hang out with us and make us laugh and sing us songs. And it won't be awful. We'll initiate him with our bodies, and our souls. But that's is that not really sweet and magic? I don't know. I have to control him. No, you can't go to him. I don't know. I don't get it. I've never had a disciple. I don't know. Seems backwards. Seems repressed. Unmagic, uncool. And I was too in that moment, To think that, well, of course I never had any right to say anything, And if Quentin was mature, he would have said, this is what I expect, he would have just had a hard conversation with me, That I do love you as a child of God and I want you to be well, But I can't use that scene anymore and I can't trust you ever. That's right? Isn't that, right? But if the truth is simpler, if the truth has to be distilled even further, and the truth is that he can't say that because, right, in accepting me at all, he'll lose all the women around him. That he won't have any women for the movie, he won't have his wife. Because he treats all of them the same way, the same way that I took a stand against, right? That they're right? That like my behavior in relation to him, right, is making them redefine their lives along different boundaries. You understand? Which is something that I was too naive to see. You know, like I mentioned Daniela in one of my letters, and like I did in December. You know, I said I hope that her family is okay. And like I did like. I thought that they were all on the same page. You know, like that's like that, and this is like what I'm still processing, like in a meaningful way, is that all of them were like desperate to speak to me, not as a psychic, as a person. You know, like that's like I am seeing that now. You know, that everyone around him wanted me to shine my light. You know, that he's a goblin, that he is a goblin, and he never cared about me. And I have all the regret in the world over not seeing that it could be for love, that it is for love. Right? But I can't kill myself. I can't. And my life meant nothing. If Quentin kills himself now, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a success. I don't want him to do that. That's not what I want. But we have to reconcile. It's time. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of like worrying that he's gonna snap. You know, like there's no peace. Right? This is my point when I say like, are you all actually prepared to live like I do forever? You know, like I will be fine. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's an abject misery to like have this feeling. And know that there's these forces out in the universe that hover over you in this malignant fashion, that have real power, that have real temporal power. And if he wants to, right, why can't he kill me? Right? Why can't he fly his private jet to Alabama and come find me and blow me away? Him personally. You know, what's stopping him? His wife, the beautiful things? I just don't see why we have to fight anymore, right? And if you've kept them from me for all this time, through the making of the film, then you've done it. You know, like you've done it. I don't see why I have to file a lawsuit against Mikey. I don't see why I have to wait until they've paraded their rapes around every movie theater in the world on the film festival circuit, right? You did it. You got the film, right? Now their souls, right? Like it's time for you to relinquish their body and soul to me. That's. I know everyone's in agreement, right? Daniela, right? I don't want to, right? If you guys are happy, I don't want to get in the way of that. That's not what I want, you know. But I have to see Mikey and Sydney. I have to see them both. You know, like that's all. They're adults. I'm an adult. Right? Just to see like how they are. Right? To see if they need to confess anything. To see if they need protection. I know you'll never let me see them. I know that you'll kill me any day. Right? Like that's my fear. This is my fear. I have no money to sue. I can't sue you, Quentin. You know, I can't. I have no money. I have no way. I can't work anymore. You know, like I tried working. I took that job sorting trash. You know, to make you happy, to pay for that lawsuit. You know, and I know I'm just rambling, talking to Quentin. Who am I talking to right now? You know, my point is that everyone's tired. You know, there's no way anyone who's like legally required to read all these emails is pleased about the fact that I still continue to crank out 15,000 words a day, and I'll never stop. It's nothing. I have like a routine. I have a formula, right? And so I don't know what else to do. I can't stop. Until I see them, right? And they allow me to be their sexual confessor. Yes, that's how I see it. Right? Doesn't mean we have to fuck, but now they have a real opportunity, right? To look me in the eye and come clean. There is no one else that can do this for them. They're the ones who liked my material. This is my point, right? That I know that you were saying you don't have to be alone anymore, that there's someone close to me that wants to meet you. In your way, you were saying it's a woman. I do, know that. I see that. But, right, did you really respect her enough? That's, what I'm saying. I don't know. I mean, it's fair. His terms are fair, right? But if she wanted to leave, right, that's my real point. That's my real point. I understand that he'll never give me that role. Right? I get that. We're cool. I get it. I blew it. But he doesn't have the right to prevent them from coming to me, right? And not feeling like it's a schism, right, with Hollywood. Hollywood supports their right to choose, That's we're all in agreement about that, right? That they don't ever have to be depressed or concerned about being true to themselves because, right? They paid that ultimate price, right, and allowed Quentin to debase them in that complete way, in that complete ritualistic way, which I'm only seeing now. And so we're all in agreement that these tactics are most assuredly the most abhorrent thing that anyone could possibly fathom. That to be subjected to such a condition will most surely define their psyches completely. And so now, as a result of this holistic trauma that he has embedded in every corner of their psyche, right, as well as their sexual identity, as well as their personality, forever, right, deep cynicism, deep trauma, right, we all have to be okay with them, right, stepping away, right, for a little while. That's the point, if that's what they want. You can't expect them to. You can't expect them to not end up suicidal if you really do expect him to exact, right, such a sadistic control over them that he compels them to discuss the merits of their rapes on the film festival circuit. That's right. That's right. Here's my alternative to that, and I suppose I'll stop because I've been going for a long time, right? That Hollywood, as an establishment, you can, right, give me the golden press pass. That's there it is. Now, we're playing the psychic mind game, right, with the industry at large, right? That every time that film has a discussion panel, and the cast and Quentin are there, right, to discuss the film, that I, and I alone, ask all the questions. I am the moderator every single time. Everyone else listens and takes notes. Right? If you just do that, it can be argued, right, you took a step towards advocating women's rights. And I'll be reaching out to women's rights groups in the days to come, I'm sure. Right? But that's there it is. There's another compromise. How about that? Right? You guys think that he can exact seditious torture upon them and compel them to sign permission waivers to get raped on his film? And that you don't even have to allow a voice of dissent in the critical establishment? Is that is your hubris that wide? You see why I think he's going to kill me, right? Because they have no answer to any of my questions. That's the point. Right? So I think it's time that we just I take the beautiful things out of Babylon, out of the darkness into the light. I think that's right. That's fair, right? If we're not prepared to do that, right, then you have to be prepared for me, right, getting on a crusade with women's rights groups, right, and making sure that you are legitimately held accountable, right, for that disgusting monument to his genetic infertility, to prevent that sadistic Black Sabbath from procreating any babies, because it represents a success in the dark arts so malevolent it could collapse society. God bless.